Romans 8, verse 37, and it says no, or nay. In all things we are more than
Yes.
through him who loves us.
Yes, we are.
So I want to announce our deliverance.
All right now.
And we're going to remember it this time. You know, I always love the celebrated, and I can tell that Miriam does too, the celebrated feelings that flow from that verse.
Yes.
You know, when you hear in all, that word all,
Everything.
you know, it's the kind of statement that makes you, all right, you got that? In all things. You know, sort of poke out your chest, put up your dukes and tell Satan, bring it on. Bring it on.
Yes.
Paul's announcement, which is the writer of this book, announcement of deliverance, sort of pumps us up with audacity
Yes.
and with it's like a soldier who's being honored or rewarded or pinned with a medal for bravery. But before we get too puffed up with pride,
Well,
I think we need to take a closer look at what I call Paul's announcement of deliverance or liberation or freedom. Any word you want to use would be fine. But he was delivered. We may just discover as we look a new perspective that we can use on our journey as the redeemed of the Lord, because that's who we are.
all right.
First, Paul starts off by saying, no, in all these things. It's obvious, very obvious, that he's answering a question, but what question? What things he talking about? Well, to understand his response, we're going to have to go back and read from verse 35, and it reads this way. It says, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall trouble, hardship, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, day long.
All day long. Yes.
We are considered as sheep to be slaughtered.
Mercy, Lord.
No. No. In all things,
Wow.
we are more than
All right.
conquerors
Yes.
through Him
Yes.
who loves us.
Amen. Good
Who
word.
loves us.
Good word.
Who shall, he says, who shall separate us from the love of Jesus? There's that question. Who? Who can snatch us out of his hand? Paul asks the questions, who? Sounds like a challenge of strength, doesn't it? His confidence is so high that there's nothing that he's not willing to face.
Well.
This question of Paul is a rhetorical question. He doesn't need an answer because he feels that he has the answer already.
All right.
Yet he answers it just the same. Paul says, shall tribulation or distress, racism,
Ouch.
the pandemic, poverty, nakedness, wars and rumors of wars.
Teach, Pastor.
This collection of enemies is quite a hostile army. It almost makes you wish he hadn't asked the question in the first place. These enemies of ours have nothing in common except that they're all evil.
Teach.
Paul doesn't bother to classify them or put them in any special order. He just lists them as they pop into his mind as these utterly powerless adversaries who are unable, church folks, to drag men and women away from Jesus Christ.
Yes. Yes.
Paul began with an all-encompassing term that covers just about everything. He says, shall tribulation. Then he gives us variety forms of it. He says distress and persecution. He followed that by two purely physical evils, hunger, he says, and poverty or nakedness. But then he bounces back to antagonism, peril and sword or danger or tax. The careless and senseless order of these evils doesn't matter. Because Paul is laughing at them as all powerless, he called them powerless enemy, when compared with the love of Christ, which shields him and us
Yes.
from all danger.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
There's no reason to deny the power of evil against us. These challenges and terrors have the power to separate us from many things.
Yes.
They can separate us from joy.
Well.
They can separate us from hope. They can separate us from peace. They can separate us from almost anything that make life desirable. They can strip us down to the very quick. But the soul,
All right now.
they cannot touch.
Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
It's like a plant.
Yes.
Pam, when you're facing a real hard, cold winter, and your flower probably die, the stem turn brown. I'm doing that now, but I'm talking about in the face of a hard winter. The leaves falls off, but the root never dies. That root just rests in the bottom of the earth
All right.
until of healing rain and sunshine, give it renewed strength.
Yes.
These things,
These things.
Paul talking about, can really hurt us, Paul says, because he said they can't really hurt us. And I hear you asking, why not, Paul? And Paul said, because they that wait upon the Lord
Yes. Yes.
shall renew their strength.
Thank you, Lord. Yes.
And the spring of rebirth is just around the corner for those who are rooted
Yes.
in Jesus Christ. Second,
Yes.
Paul says, no, in all these things we are more than conquerors.
Yes.
Now, look closely, and you will see the point Paul is trying to make.
Mercy, Lord.
He didn't say that in the midst of our turmoil.
Uh-huh.
He didn't say in the midst, in the unit with COVID. He said, he didn't say that in the midst of our turmoil, Christ is our conqueror. Instead, he says that in the midst of our trial, we
Yes, we are.
are the conquerors.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Lord.
It's clear that there's something we have to do now to prevent our foes from having this ill effect on us. There's something we got to do. Instead of just saying nothing, nothing can separate us from the love of God. You know, we like to do that. He says, no, in all things,
Yes. Yes.
we are more
Yes.
than conquerors.
Yes.
Paul says that while we're still being confronted with COVID or with our enemies, while they are still up in our face, sitting behind us talking, threatening us with their action, in the midst of all these things,
Come on now.
we're more.
Yes, we are.
We're more than conquerors.
Yes, that's the word.
It sounds arrogant and excited, doesn't it? His words do not describe soldiers who win battles by a close margin, like triumph snatched from the very jaws of defeat. Instead, he described us as more than conquerors. Now, we envision soldiers heavily armored with more than enough weaponry, and they're marching in battle with a song on their heart, because we know that in the end, we gonna win. Ours is an abundant victory. We not only hinder these things, hear me now, that war against us, all those things that war against us, but we actually convert them into helpers and allies. Well, Pastor, where you get that from? How do we do that? I'm glad you asked. Think of the last time you faced some adversarial situation.
Well,
Whether you called it distress or persecution or peril or hunger, you came out of it with the Lord, didn't you? And if someone were to ask you, you would tell them that, hey, yeah, I went through, man, it was rough, but I'm stronger for it. Yeah, you would.
yes.
Because we've seen our trials come to only make us strong.
Yes, yes.
We are helped by our infirmities and our afflictions because they are opportunity to test the depth of our faith
Yes.
and of our trust
Yes.
in God. Paul doesn't want us to think that we will be conquerors somewhere in some far-off heavenly place.
Well,
We're here, aren't we?
yes.
COVID is here, well, it's everywhere.
Mhm.
We face hard time in Dublin.
Mhm.
They face hard time in Mount Vernon, all over the world. But we are here. We face some threats. There's a racist war going on.
Mercy, Lord.
We blacks here. We face some storms and persecution. And there's a storm somewhere now. But we are here.
Yes, yes,
We face some financial challenges.
yes.
I did 1 month, this month a little bit better, but we are here. Listen to me, church folks. There will be no celebration of victory in heaven unless we first learn to trust the one who loves us in the here
Yes,
and the now.
yes.
We can only conquer the world when we make it contribute to our faith
Mm-hmm.
in Jesus Christ.
All right, all right.
And finally, Paul says, no, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us.
Mm.
Now, this is the most important part of Paul's announcement of being free or being liberated. With the final word, we make an amazing discovery. It threw me for a minute. Now I want you to look at it closely. It's not our love of Christ that gives us the victory. It's his love for us.
Yes, yes.
And it begs the question, is there any evil, any tribulation in the world that will cause Christ to stop loving us who cleave to him?
Mm-hmm.
Picture these two entities. Picture one divine, one carnal, one dwell in the abyss,
Well,
or where the abyss of eternity,
uh-huh.
while the other move among the low levels of earth.
Well,
They have nothing in common to believe that anything that assails and afflicts man here on earth has an effect on Christ's love for us is like saying that the mist after a rain can put out the sun. Nothing that happens on earth
well.
can poison the realm of heaven.
Thank you, Jesus.
Nothing.
Amen.
When trouble comes our way, Christ tightens his grasp on us.
Uh-huh.
And by his strength, we are made more than conquerors.
Yes, yes.
Christ uses these things
All right.
that threaten our separation as means of drawing us nearer to him.
Mm-hmm.
Paul also mentions Christ's love
Yes.
in the past tense.
Yes.
He said, him that loved us.
Teach.
He's not making some ridiculous claim that Christ's love was seasonal or is in some way limited. Is that all of Jesus Christ's love is already made visible where? Where? At the cross.
Yes.
at the cross. Paul is pointing to Jesus Christ's death and resurrection as our ultimate victory. The cross is the key. It's a never-changing illustration of God's boundless love for us. He gave his only begotten Son. One time me and my brother, I ain't gonna tell you which one, cause I fight with him anyhow. But me and him were driving. Maybe I was taking, all my brothers go to the VA. Maybe I was taking them to the VA. And I was driving his truck. And we passed this little narrow road. And he grabbed the steering wheel, I think he was nodding, and thought I was going off. And I let go of the steering wheel. He said, don't let go, don't let go. I said, I'm the driver now. I said, two people can't drive a truck. Either I drive or you will. You can be more than a conqueror, no matter what you face in life.
Yes.
But the key lies in your ability to entrust your life to your Savior.
Yes.
Give him the wheel. Give him the wheel.
Yes.
And let his love guide you from birth all the way to eternal life.
Yes.
If you want more, to be more than a conqueror, give Christ the wheel.
Yes.
He's the fountain in a dry season.
Yes, he is.
He's a banquet
All right.
in a lean season. He is wealth in a poor season. He is a physician and a healer in the midst of a hellish pandemic.
Yes.
And he'll be our rainbow in the midst of a race war. He'll be our friend in the midst of all our enemies. He'll be our victory in the midst of defeat. Sometimes, I don't know, it may be my age, but sometimes you got to look back. And you got to see what God has done for others.
Yes.
And know that if he did it for them, he'll do it for you. You see, sometimes you got to talk to yourself. Sometimes you have to tell yourself, Isaiah 54:17, no weapons formed against me shall prosper. Sometimes you need to tell yourself Psalm 18:2, the Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. He's my God. He's my rock in whom I take refuge. He's my shield and he's the horn of my salvation. He's my stronghold. Sometimes you have to tell yourself Deuteronomy 28:2. And the Lord will make you the head and not the tail. You shall only go up and not down. You need to tell yourself to read Psalm 7. Psalm 7 says, some trust in chariots. Some trust in horses. But we here at Howard Chapel trust in the name of the Lord our God. Tell yourself about Psalm 27. The Lord is my life. He's my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid of? Tell yourself, Job 13, verse 15. Though he slay me,
All right now.
yet will I hope in him.
Yes.
And then remember today's scripture, Romans 8:37.
Uh-huh.
No, in all these things,
Yes.
in all these things, we are more than conquerors
Yes. Yes.
through him
Yes.
who
Yes.
loved us.
Woo, hallelujah.
The Lord is our rock.
Yes, he is.
And we can shout, we are free. We're liberated. We can shout that in all things, we, the believers at Howard Chapel, are more than conquerors because of his love for us. Precious Father, let it be so.